The differences affirmed here within this book and that approach between the approaches of Islam, Buddhism and Christianity on the issue of experience helps us to navigate the genuine distinctions and opposing truth claims that do really exist. But underlying his friend's question at the beginning of this chapter was the basic assumption that these differences are not important, as if all the religions are a melting pot of skewed faith-based views that can be lumped together. And that's what the Pope is trying to do with this new religion, this restructuring of the Roman Catholic Church. Everyone come underneath that new religion. You're all Catholic because it's all universal, worldwide, and there's no protesters, no protestants as such if you're all Catholic, universal, because that's the real meaning of it. It's worldwide, it's global. So come embrace their new twist on things, right? The new way that they're putting it. All will be one under one church. Okay. We believe that there's something in horoscopes. This is what one poet put it. Okay. Okay, hang on. The exception to this paradigm is a secular worldview that is uncritically accepted as being entirely unbiased and neutral in its approach. The Indian Christian apologist Ravi Zacharias helpfully comments that in our postmodern society, many people like to believe that all the religions are fundamentally the same, but just superficially different, whereas in reality they are just superficially similar, but fundamentally different, as one poet put it. We believe there's something in horoscopes, UFOs and bent spoons. Jesus was a good man, just like Buddha, Muhammad and ourselves. We believe he was a good moral teacher, but we think his good morals are really bad. We believe that all religions are basically the same, at least the one we read was. They all believe in love and goodness. They only differ on matters of creation, sin, heaven, hell, God and salvation. This helpful observation is true of this whole area of experience of God. However, many people in our society believe that to claim that Jesus is uniquely the way to God is somehow shockingly intolerant. If Christian experience is startlingly different and unique when laid alongside comparable alternatives, isn't it intolerant, still intolerant and even arrogant to assert that this somehow nullifies the others? Tolerance. Tolerance of other people's views is a highly prized virtue in our culture, and when talking about religion, it has come to mean accepting that all religions are equally true or untrue. No distinctions can be made. But what does tolerance actually mean? A helpful definition of to tolerate is to allow something that one dislikes or disagrees with to exist without interference, or to patiently endure something unpleasant. The important fact here is that tolerance is needed for people who have different opinions. If this writer agrees that your path leads to God as much as his, you don't need to be tolerant because they both agree. You both agree. It is only if I disagree or he disagrees that he needs to be tolerant towards another person's views. Yet Christianity is perceived as being intolerant. After all, isn't it wrong to say that somebody else is wrong? Of course. The ironic thing is that the person saying that it is wrong to say that someone else is wrong is also saying that Christians are wrong for saying that what they believe. Therefore, the crucial question at issue here is not whether Christian belief is tolerant or not, but whether it is true and real. Arrogance. Another objection to Christian uniqueness is that it is arrogant to say that Jesus is the only way to God. This point is often made using the Indian story of an elephant in the jungle. Different blind scribes come up to the elephant and take hold of the different body parts. One holds the trunk and declares, "This is a snake." Another holds the leg and says, "You are wrong. It is not a snake, it is a tree trunk." Still another holds the tail and says, "You are both wrong. It is a rope." The different individuals represent the religions of the world, and the moral of the story is that no one faith has the whole truth. It would be arrogant to claim it. All have a little piece. The intriguing thing about this parable is that there are two important differences between the person telling the story and the people inside the story. The first is a difference in perspective. The people inside the story are close up to the elephant, but the storyteller is standing back and has the whole picture. So he's recognizing the elephant as an elephant, because he can see, they can't. That's an elephant. The second difference, they're blinded by it, right? The second difference is more fundamental. The people inside the story are blind, and the person telling the story can see, as we just stated. The clear implication of the story is that Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Muhammad and Moses were blind, but the storyteller can see. Who sounds arrogant now? Is it not just as arrogant to claim that you know that all paths lead to God as it is to claim that you agree with Jesus that he is the only way to God? As he stated, I am the way, the truth and the life. Thus the real debate is not about who is arrogant or not, but instead about what is actually true and real. The issue on which you reject Christianity should not be its alleged arrogance, since surely it is just as arrogant to say that all paths lead to God as it is to say that none lead there. The question is not whether it is arrogant to say that Jesus is the way to God, but is it actually true? Is it real? Exclusion. Another motivation or moral force behind questioning the unique truth claims that Jesus makes is that of exclusion. How can you, the Christian, exclude all these religions? Again, we need to think carefully about this, because the reality is that whatever position we hold, we exclude some views. Even the person who believes that all ways lead to God, which, to be consistent, must include the ideologies of people such as Idi Amin Dada, remember that guy? Probably haven't, but yeah, go do research on him. Pol Pot, Stalin and Osama bin Laden, all supposed killers, right? Murderers, etc. By that very position excludes the view that only some ways lead to God, and the view that only the one way leads to God. In the same way, the average tolerant person with whom we are all friends, would probably want to exclude the extreme views of Hitler or Milosevic, and therefore we would believe that only some ways lead to God. Perhaps the 5 main world religions. This position excludes the view that all ways lead to God, and the views that one way leads to God. And the Christian who wants to say, I follow Jesus, and he said that he was the only way to the Father, excludes the view that all ways, or that some ways lead to God. Every view excludes some. So the key issue at stake is not who is excluding people, but what is actually true and real. No matter how hard you try, you can't escape the fact that one truth claim will always exclude some possibilities. The person who says that all ways to God are true excludes the possibility that only one way is true, or that only some ways are true. A person who says that some ways to God are true excludes the possibility that only one way is true, or that all ways to God are true. The person who says that only one way to God is true then also excludes others. All views exclude, and so it seems a little unreasonable to single out Christianity and reject it on the basis that it excludes. Sometimes the objection to Christianity as a truth may be phrased as a common generalization. All truth is relative, except that statement itself, of course. Roger Scruton, research professor for the Institute for the Psychological Sciences, famously put it this way: if someone tells you there is no such thing as truth, they are asking you not to believe them, so don't. And so we come back to the original question: what about other people's experiences? Are they somehow invalidated by believing in Jesus as the only way to God? Or his particular believing in Jesus as the only way to God? As we have seen, other religious paths do not make claims about personal experience of a personal God. And so it is difficult to compare Christian experience with this alternative. We do, however, come to the issue of sincerity. And this author believes that it is possible to treat a person who has a different viewpoint with tolerance and respect, not questioning the sincerity of his or her belief, but nonetheless disagreeing with the content of that belief. Having considered some of the differences between competing worldview claims on a question of experience at a theoretical level, we are left with another more pragmatic approach to consider. At the end of the day, any claims to have encountered God and to have a real relationship with Jesus Christ are open to testable first-hand experience for every living person. Christians believe that a simple step, opening one's heart and mind to God, is all that it takes to begin a lifelong relationship with God. The Bible promises that if we draw near to God, he will draw near to us. This is a clear invitation to encounter God. A simple prayer like, God, if you are there, please reveal yourself to me. Or like that lady that was chopped up, bloodied, stabbed by this guy in North Korea and left in a ditch. She cried out to God, if you are there, if you are real God, help me, right? And he did, according to her testimony. Okay, so that can be an intriguing start to our search for God. However, if this question of whether the Christian claim to experience God undermines other alternatives can be answered, shouldn't that experience of God itself be questioned? Couldn't the whole idea of God be a delusion? 2. Your experiences of God, or your experience of God, is delusional, not real. And that's what many of these renowned atheists, got the name. One of them goes red in the face, he gets all angry. Can't remember their names. Was it Hawkins or Dawkins? And the other guy, Christopher Sitchin, is it? Those guys. Yeah, they say this: God is not real, etc., etc. The God delusion. A number of years ago, this writer's church in Oxford had a baptism service in which one of the men about to go under the water gave a short speech telling everybody why he was about to get into a huge tank of water, fully clothed in front of 700 people. He began by explaining that a year earlier his wife had announced that she had decided to become a Christian. He was horrified to hear this news and immediately began quizzing her about her new beliefs. Had she been brainwashed? What on earth attracted her to the church in this day and age? What did a personal relationship with God mean? Could she feel it? What was the factual basis for Christianity? And on it went. When his wife told him that she was going to pray regularly, this man had an idea. He decided that he would find out what she was praying about, and that over the course of a year he would write down everything she prayed for, with the date of the prayer next to it. On the opposite page, he would write down answers to the prayers. Then, at the end of the year, he would hand her the book and show her all the blank pages, proving that none of her prayers had been answered and that her newfound faith was a delusion. As he was told the story, the Christian congregation bristled slightly. The tension in the air was palpable. The man continued by explaining that at the end of the year, he had a book filled with prayers on one side and answers on the other. The only unanswered prayer from the year was his own conversion to Christianity. Completely blown away by this, he decided to investigate the claim of Christianity for himself, and he found himself convinced both intellectually and now existentially that it was true. In a postmodern society, spirituality is generally seen as a positive thing. People may not be signing up for an organised religion in huge numbers, but many do believe in a valuable spiritual dimension to life. In our tolerant age, where every belief is seen as equally valid, the Christian claim to have a personal relationship with God is viewed by many as a lifestyle option that is to be commended if it makes the individual happy. This pluralist approach involves its own challenges. How can Christians share their own personal experience of God with someone else without creating the suspicion that they are trying to impose their views on the other person? Well, we say there's ways around that. Okay, be well versed in public relations, communication, and approach them as a human being. And listen to what they have to say. Shut the hell up. Listen to what they have to say. Right? They may tell you, well, my life, this has happened, and then I've seen it. When they talk about God, why isn't God like, if there's God, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. Okay, it's just a normal conversation. You might give them some food, right? And you say, well, okay, your life's been like that. Why don't you try God? Try Christ. It might be better for you. You're giving them that option, right? You're not forcing it down their throat. So they can go, well, I don't really get into that, I'm just on that. Okay, well, that's their choice, their decision, right? Who are we to really impinge on their choice, their decision? Okay, it's their life, it's their choice, their decision. You can only advise them, okay? Right? And then at the end of the day, let the power of the Holy Spirit working through you, you're the vessel, working through you, convict them of their sin, etc., etc., and give them the revelations, open their eyes to Christ, God's grace, mercy, love, salvation, etc., etc. Don't try to do it on your own steam, okay? Because all you're doing is talking a load of words, okay? That have no effect there. Okay? Pray that the Holy Spirit gives you that power, and that Holy Spirit will convict that person, right? And give them a more blessed life, abundance, happiness, etc., etc. Part of the problem here is that our society seems to have created two categories: spiritual matters and everything else. Sharing spiritual matters, particularly the claims of Christ and His gospel, is considered intolerant, but it would be considered selfish and unfriendly to keep to oneself something wonderful and life enhancing within the second category of everything else. Hey, here's a new idea. Instead of like talking about it, it's the power of your mind. This is just a bit of a pun here, right? A bit of humour. Okay, you got this power of your mind through the power of the Holy Spirit. It's like you're communicating, right? You smile. You smile. It has a lot of power. And smile, your posture, etc., like that. Yeah, we're not saying use it as the total basis, but yeah, this is just an idea we had. It just came to us at this moment, right? You have that power of the Spirit of God in you, right? It emanates, it oozes out from you, every being, every pore of your body. And that person, this is what we've experienced as well. Okay, at different times, they say, wow, there's something completely different about this guy. Okay, something very, very different. Okay, maybe they'll ask, is it God? Is it the power of God? Okay, this guy is, wow, I've never felt this before. And they want to know what it is. And they'll maybe express it. And they'll say, wow, I want what you've got, right? It's like Simon Magus when he approached Peter. He wanted the power of the Holy Spirit, but he wanted to offer cash for it, right? To boost his magical powers amongst the people, all this sort of stuff. He could fly and all this sort of stuff, right? The leader of the said founder of the Gnostic movement, right? The father of it. He was trying to buy his way and buy the power of the Holy Spirit and this sort of stuff. Yeah, so maybe that's another way as well, because first impressions last. Okay, the way you dress, the way you hold yourself, the way you look, the power of the Holy Spirit through you, coming through you. Okay, its power oozing out of every pore of your skin, your hair, your very being, right? Okay, and like you're standing, you've got this circle around you. It's a sacred ground, according to scriptures, right? Okay, around the Christian there's this ground halo, you put it that way, right? People step into it and they may feel all of that. Now think about it. We're not saying it's the one, it's the all. Now pay us all this money to, help us, giving us this money, plant a seed to grow a harvest and all this sort of stuff. None of these sham scams that these others pull, right? It's just an idea. Just something to think about, right? It's not all to end all. It's just perhaps some sort of means, some sort of way, okay? Yeah, to reach people.